Hey everybody, Ace from the DIM team here, and today we're going to talk about the Loadout Optimizer. We're going to go over the screen and its components, we're going to talk about each section, then we're going to go over the results specifically, and we're going to break that down and show you what everything here means and how to make sense of it. Then we're going to go over the filters, I'm going to show you how to really find sets that you're looking for using these filters. So let's start just by breaking down the page itself. On the left hand side we have those filters I just talked about, your character selection. And on the right hand side is all of the stat mixes that get generated. So the stat mixes are essentially just mixes of stats that can be made with specific items. So it's not every possible set, it's every possible stat mix, and you can switch items around inside of that stat mix to get different sets. So what I mean by that is, here our top set is T22 with the T6 mobility, T2 resilience, etc. I can swap out pieces that have the choose another item button, and I can select those and keep the exact same stat mix. So within these sets and within these stat mixes you have some wiggle room to kind of swap things in and out. Up top we can see the total builds that were generated. In this case it was almost 5,000 stat mixes, and then in each one of those stat mixes we can see how many possible combinations of items there are. It's all sorted by total tier, so you'll see my T22s is the highest tier I can possibly have, and then T21s are next, so forth and so on. After the total tier, it gets sorted by these stats over here in order. So mobility, resilience, recovery, discipline, intellect, and strength. So right now it's looking for my highest total tier with my highest possible mobility within that tier. So it's possible to have a higher mobility in a lower tier, as we see down here with this T21 and T7 mobility. And once we go over the filters, we'll talk about how to really pull out those highest stats and kind of ignore that total tier when you're only looking for specific stats. So the other kind of cool things that we can do on this results side, all the items are listed here. We can click on them just like we can on the inventory page to see all the details about them. We can also shift click an item to exclude it from my search here. So this wing contender will no longer be shown in any loadout. You can shift click a mod to lock it and see its effects. So before this mod was equipped, let's look at our strength here, T5. If I take it off, it will fall to T4. It's because these stats here for Armor 2.0 do not include mods. So with Armor 2.0 you're really looking for your best base because all of the mods are equipable on anything and it's cheap to do so. The exception to this rule is Armor 1.0. Armor 1.0 is a more permanent thing, so it had permanent perks, and when you equipped a mod it was expensive. The mod was consumed and it was more expensive to equip. So if you see 1.0 armor pieces in this, those stats from those perks and mods on Armor 1.0 are included in the totals up here. Today we're going to focus on mostly 2.0 and building 2.0 sets because that's kind of the way that Destiny is moving going forward. Okay, so we've talked about this over here. We know that we can equip the loadout. We can add all these sets to a loadout by doing the plus loadout button. We can equip it by doing the equip button. Some of those things are pretty obvious. And we talked about shift clicking to exclude or lock armors or perks. So with that out of the way, let's talk about these filters over here and how we can use them. So the first thing you want to do when you come in is select the character you're looking for a set for. So it's going to default to your active character. That's my hunter, and that's great because that's what I want to build a set for right now. So let's dive right in and go over an example of building a set. So for me, I want to build a set for my bottom tree Night Stalker because they buffed it a while back and I've been wanting to try out something with it. Kind of like a maximum invisibility kind of thing. So the bottom tree, I'm going to want a lot of strength. So we talked about before, moving these will change the sort. So if I drag strength up to the top, you'll see that my build's changed and now I have strength being shown first. So my highest strength with T22 is up top now. I also want mobility, so I'll leave that there. There's also a couple stats with this build I don't really want. So with a bottom tree Night Stalker, you have quiver. I don't care about quiver too much, so I'm not too concerned with intellect. with Discipline and the bottom tree not sucker, every time I throw a smoke bomb, I'm going to get a large chunk of my Discipline back anyway. So I don't necessarily care about having a ton of Discipline, so I could ignore that stat. We're going to go ahead and do an extreme case here, and I'm going to ignore everything except for strength and mobility, because those are the things I really want to maximize with this build here. So as soon as I did that, we really start to see where these stats shine. So you see that my total tier is here in gray, and it's dropped fairly significantly. And the tier of the stats that I now care about is right here. And that's what we're sorting by now. So I can see that I might have a lower total tier here, but my strength really jumped and my mobility really jumped, because that's what I'm looking for. A high strength and high mobility set. So just by ignoring these and dragging strength and mobility to the top, I've kind of made the optimizer show me what I'm looking for a lot easier, because I don't necessarily care about that total tier. You can also switch the order of these two and kind of see where my highest mobility set would be on the T13. So in this case, I'm going to do T8, T5, and with strength, I think it evens out to, T7 and T6 in this case. So let's go ahead and put mobility on the top, because I like having that base T8. That's really nice. And again, that does not include any mods. So we know that if I shift click these mods that I already have equipped, we can see by equipping this loadout, I'd already be at T8 and T8 with the mods that are already on the gear. And I have 2 more slots, so I could get both of these to T9 with the 2 extra mods if I wanted. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it at base for now, and we're going to talk about the other things that you can use these locking mods and things like that for. There's also some other things I'm seeing here that I don't really want. So like blues, for instance. I'm seeing blues in some of these loadouts. I don't want any blues. So you could theoretically start shift clicking these blues to exclude them like we talked about. But with something as broad as excluding all blues, that's going to be a hassle. So we can use the search filter up here to do something like that. If we type in blue and we do not blue, it's going to exclude all blues from my loadout. So I don't have any more. Awesome. That's exactly what I wanted. Now, the next thing I'm kind of seeing here is I'm seeing some exotics that I don't want. So Stompies are awesome, but for this particular build, I want that maximum invisibility. So I'm going to want Graviton Forfeit as my exotic here. So I'm going to do the lock item section here. And I'm going to type in Graviton. And I'm going to lock that. So now I see that, my stuff has dropped a little bit because I have the Graviton on. But now it's in every set, and I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about it suggesting other exotics because the optimizer knows I can't equip 2. And I've told it I want the Graviton Forfeit. Okay, so now we're in pretty good shape here. I'm at T7 and T5 strength. If I put strength up there, what are we at? I can do T6, T6. That's fairly balanced, so I'm going to keep that for now. And then we're going to work in here and kind of see what we can do besides that. Let's see what my mobility one was. Okay, let's do the T7, T5. So I see that I've got a lot of void here, which is good because I'm a sniper and I like to equip sniper mods. But these legs aren't void. So there's a way that you can lock affinity on specific items. So if we go to the select a mod or perk, there's a couple ways we can do this. If I know what mods I want to equip, I can just go ahead and do that. So if I do sniper and I lock this unflinching sniper aim on my chest, it's going to make sure that every build that gets suggested can equip that mod. So it's going to lock the affinity to void because that's the perk I want. But maybe you don't really know exactly the perks you want. You just kind of have a, I want this affinity. So let's go ahead and make all of these a void affinity. If we type in void, you'll see that void is one of the options here. So on that leg armor, if I lock void and I select the perk, boom, they're all going to be locked to the void affinity now. So you can lock affinities to particular gear with this. You can lock specific perks, and it will let you, the optimizer will force those particular affinities to be in there. It also won't let you lock more perks than can be, or more mods than can be equipped. So it's going to take that energy capacity into account, so you don't have to worry about, making something that isn't possible. For the most part, though, if you don't really know what mods you're going to go with, maybe just have an idea of the type of weapons you like, you can lock those affinities and kind of just go from there. That way you can mix and match the ones that you want. Okay, so I'm in pretty good shape here. I've got a loadout that I like here. I know that if I just take this at face value and I lock these mods that are already equipped, I'm already at T7 mobility and T8 strength, and I've got 2 extra mods that I can equip for those particular things or more. So I could probably get to T10, T10 with this. I'm happy with it for now. So I can go ahead and do the plus loadout button on this particular build. It's going to give it a build of kind of the name and what's going on with it and the date, so that you won't, overwrite ones you've already done. I'm just going to call this, Invis Hunter, and then I can save my loadout. So now that loadout is saved, if I want to get to it, I would go to the inventory page. I'd click the drop down on my hunter, and I'd click Invis Hunter. Here it is. And it will equip all those things for me. So there we go. It's done. And we're in good shape. All right, so that's about it for the Loadout Optimizer. If you guys have any questions, you can go over to our Discord or Reddit, or you can hit us up on Twitter. You'll find all those links here, and you can ask us questions there. GitHub is a great place to come when you have questions. We have a pretty big community there. People are willing to help out. They'll help you find what you need. We're always in there, so if you have any questions, definitely hit up our Discord. That's it for Loadout Optimizer, guys. Thanks for watching.